Hey, Ray.
What are we doing tomorrow? What a thing on Sunday.
I missed the end of it. Hey, guys. Doug, nice to see you. Likewise.
John, nice to see you. I recognize you in the shirts, man. Right? God bless you. Nice to see you both. You look very cool when you're outside here. Good stuff. Hey, sir. Navy's really improving.
This guy's great. Great game here. They're just in the football game.
What should we do here, guys?
I think we should start.
Okay. No problem. No. You ready to rush?
Yeah.
All right, let's go.
Good morning, everybody. Governor Murphy, Chairman Kosha, Executive Director Corbett, on behalf of Mayor Cahill and Assemblyman Egan and the City Council, I would like to welcome you to New Brunswick and the New Brunswick Train Station. State-of-the-art rail service has always been central to the economic well-being and growth of New Brunswick. Transportation connectivity ensured that New Brunswick was well positioned as the Industrial Revolution unfolded and New Brunswick became a hub of manufacturing activity in the region. In 1886, James Wood Johnson, one of the founding brothers of Johnson & Johnson, was traveling from Philadelphia to New York City, thinking about where to locate a surgical dressing facility. Midway on the journey, the train stopped in New Brunswick, and Johnson noticed a small 4-story factory adjacent to the train station. He immediately got off the train and rented the fourth floor of the building. Within 8 years, J&J was employing 400 people in 14 buildings just steps from this train station. Often, Thomas Edison would take the train to New Brunswick and have lunch directly across the street at a pharmacy lunch counter with the Johnson brothers and discuss advances in manufacturing processes. Train stations like this one allow us to embrace the past while focusing on the future. Just as rail service was central to the growth of the industrial economy, today rail service has been the catalyst for downtown housing, has made the New Brunswick Performing Arts Center, Rutgers, and healthcare more accessible for people throughout the region, and positioned New Brunswick to lead and contribute to Governor Murphy's vision for a new economic revolution, one where New Jersey takes back the innovation economy. This partnership, which we'll discuss today between New Jersey Transit and Amtrak, will immediately impact the reach and accessibility of both the new Rutgers Cancer Institute and the New Jersey Innovation and Technology Hub. Within steps of this station, it will represent $1 billion of investment. These projects are slated to start over the next 12 months. While we are setting the stage for discovery, collaboration, and job creation in the city, expanded rail service and improved facilities will allow discussions, creative collisions, and partnerships to begin on the Excella and on commuter service, where venture capitalists, scientists, and entrepreneurs will meet and collaborate even before arriving in New Brunswick. Governor Murphy, Chairman Kosha, and Executive Director Corbett, we're ready. We've been waiting. We have 90% drawings for the bridge that will connect the hub and the station. We've been waiting patiently through 3 administrations, and Governor Murphy, we know third time is a charm. We know that the innovative partnerships that you have forged between New Jersey Transit and Amtrak will pay dividends up and down the corridor and serve as a catalyst for the innovation economy supporting your call for a stronger and fairer New Jersey. It's my honor to introduce Governor Murphy.
Thank you, Chris. Well done, buddy. Thank you, Chris. I just asked Tony, is the weather always this good in New Brunswick? What a treat to be here. Thank you, Chris Palladino, for that introduction and for your work, and through you to the entire DevCo team for all you've done over the years to truly revitalize the hub city and all that you will continue to do. It's also an honor to be here alongside Amtrak Chairman of the Board and dear friend Tony Kosha. We also have NJ Transit President and CEO Kevin Corbett, and I hope very soon we will have Assemblyman and another dear friend, Joe Egan, with us. I also want to acknowledge the Council President, Vice President, members of Council, brothers and sisters of labor, advocates, both transportation and environmental. Thank you all for being with us today. This past February, Tony and Kevin and I stood together in New York Penn Station to open a new era of partnership between Amtrak and NJ Transit. After years of literally next to zero cooperation, which I think if anything overstates the case under the previous New Jersey administration, we're now back working together, showing the power in partnership, as we call it, and reinvesting in the ridership experience of the hundreds of thousands of daily travelers who share the rails. This new partnership is about to take a step up to the next level with the start of numerous joint projects that will benefit riders up and down the Northeast Corridor. Whether it be here in New Brunswick or in Elizabeth, where work has already begun, Princeton Junction or Trenton, or other stops, both NJ Transit commuters and Amtrak riders will begin to see a series of significant improvements, both on the platforms and in the stations, that will make access easier, waiting more comfortable, and enhance safety and, importantly, ADA compliance. This is good news for passengers. But more broadly, these investments are what we need to continue to make our case, as Chris alluded to, for New Jersey's continued economic revival. With Amtrak's recent expansion of service both here and at Princeton Junction, New Jersey's ability to draw potential investments into the literal core of the Northeast Regional Rail Line has grown exponentially. Across the street from us is the future home of the Hub, as Chris alluded to, an entirely new incubator and innovation center. Enhanced accessibility and connectivity to both Rutgers University and the life sciences industry that surrounds New Brunswick is key to its success, just as it has been to so many of DevCo's investments. Accessibility is also a key reason why Princeton University continues to draw vital new partnerships and why the area surrounding Princeton Junction has become a magnet for the pharma and life sciences industries. These investments will only increase that magnetism. And through NJ Transit and Amtrak's partnership, we can unleash more of the potential in Elizabeth and in Trenton, which also sits on Amtrak's Northeast Corridor line, to support the growth of good jobs. A modern, safe, and reliable mass transit system is critical for the transit-oriented development that will be the backbone of stronger communities where residents can live, work, and play. A modern, safe, and reliable mass transit system will be the catalyst that we need to grow our economy and reclaim our historic role as the home of leading research institutions and innovative companies. The most forward-thinking firms and organizations want to locate where infrastructure is strong and accessibility to capital markets and consumers is second to none. What it comes down to is this: the increased collaboration between Amtrak and NJ Transit and the restarting of what had once been a strong working relationship is a win-win-win for our commuters, our communities, and our economic future. The investments we are making up and down the Northeast Corridor and across NJ Transit that Chris and DevCo continue to make in New Brunswick, and that our administration is making alongside our legislative partners to set our state up for dominance in the innovation economy, all of that is sending a clear message that New Jersey is ready to embrace the future. This is what the stronger part of the stronger and fairer New Jersey looks and feels like. It's based on a transportation system that can lift our state on its shoulders and ensures that everyone can hop on. It is now my pleasure to introduce, as I said, a good friend, someone who has dedicated his public career to stronger infrastructure, the chairman of the board of Amtrak, Tony Kosha.
Thank you, Governor. Let me start by commending Chris Palladino, Mayor Cahill, and everything that they've done here in New Brunswick. I mean, it is in fact a beautiful day in New Brunswick, and everything you see around you is the fact that transit-oriented development here by Chris and by the mayor are taken very, very seriously, and you can see the results of it as you look around and see all the growth and development and jobs and opportunities that have come from connecting transportation to development. And I think a great deal of credit goes to both Chris Palladino and the mayor for doing that. It's a pleasure to be here today, and our presence here today says something about the leadership of Governor Murphy and CEO and President Kevin Corbett of New Jersey Transit. They understand the power of partnership and why it's important. You know, somewhere in central New Jersey, there's a person who gets up in the morning and gets into their car, travels on a road that's maintained by Middlesex County, then gets onto a highway maintained by the New Jersey Department of Transportation, gets to New Brunswick, where they park in a garage that's maintained by the City of New Brunswick's Parking Authority, then jump on a train that's operated by New Jersey Transit that runs on rail that is owned by Amtrak, maybe gets off in Newark and gets on a path car that's run by the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, till they get into Manhattan, jump on a subway that is, of course, operated by the New York Metropolitan Transit Association. Now, do you think that that commuter really cares who's running the program and who's running which piece of it? They just want to get from point A to point B. They want to do it safely, and they want to do it on time. It is not helpful for that individual I mentioned from central New Jersey to walk into their office an hour late and say to their boss, I know I'm an hour late, I know I've completely screwed up today, but don't worry about it. It wasn't New Jersey Transit's fault, it was Amtrak's fault. I don't think that matters to anybody. And I think that the governor demonstrates by his leadership, and certainly the relationship that's been forged by New Jersey Transit and Amtrak, that what we really do is have to serve our customer. That getting that customer from one point to another is really what our mission is about. In February, when the governor announced that we would be operating through a series of initiatives between the two of us, this is the beginning of that process in a very material way. We are together making improvements to the train station here in New Brunswick, in Princeton Junction, in Elizabeth, and at the Trenton Transportation Center. All things that will make and improve the quality and the experience that our customers have. Similarly, just a few months ago, Amtrak announced increased service in and out of New Brunswick and Princeton Junction because we recognize the demand that's out there and the need for our passengers to have greater ability to access the entire Northeast Corridor and create a better mobility option for them as they move throughout the region. We think that these are all installments in what will ultimately be a long-term, deep program in order to make things better in the region. Certainly, another area where we have been cooperating is on trying to move the Gateway program forward. Amtrak is a major partner with New Jersey Transit in trying to advance that program. We've committed $345 million to the Portal Bridge initiative, and the early elements of that have been done in a partnership between New Jersey Transit and Amtrak and completed on time and on budget. More importantly, we have increased our level of proposed investment in the Hudson tunnels by $600 million to a $1.2 billion commitment to that program. And we've done that alongside the governor, who has committed $600 million to the Portal program that represents the first time anyone on a local level has provided tangible support to an element of the Gateway program that fully satisfies the local share. It has not happened in the entire program as it's evolved. All of these things I think are indications of the partnership between New Jersey and Amtrak, and specifically between New Jersey Transit and Amtrak to deal with the needs of our customers on a daily basis. You know, the truth is that much of what we deal with are dealing with issues that have been festering for a very long period of time. The truth is we've all underinvested and under-addressed issues that people need in infrastructure generally, but certainly within the transportation system. The problem is that you get to a certain point where you can do something about it, and it occurs to you that trying to do something about it is going to be very painful. These are not easy problems to fix. You know, we all don't want to lift up the rug to see what's underneath, and sometimes the easier inclination is just to let it lie. I'm very proud to be here serving with a governor who is taking the exact opposite approach. As painful as it might be to rip this Band-Aid off and fix these problems, and there will be disruption in doing it, and there will be cost and resources, we need to do it. The longer we wait, the harder the problem is. So I'm very proud to be part of a partnership that sees the world as something we can actually improve and not just accept in its current condition. Thank you.
Well done. Incredibly well done. Thank you. That was so darn impressive, Tony. Thank you so much for everything you do and have done, including all the great work that we are doing together with Amtrak. It's now my honor to bring up New Jersey Transit's President and Chief Executive Officer. Please help me welcome Kevin Corbett.
I have to say, following Tony Kosha, that is not the enviable position. Tony, well said. I would comment on a personal note. 30 years ago, when I started coming out from New York, started dating my wife, who was a surgical resident at Robert Wood Johnson, and hit the flower shop. It's still there, but 30 years later, I'm here. Never saw that coming. And certainly, Tony, on a personal note, all I can say is after I got into Georgetown, they raised the standards significantly because Tony is certainly had done a lot better than I have. But I think what Tony touched on is some of the major accomplishments. People will say, why now? For years, a number of the projects that we have going on in the Northeast Corridor were languished. They were actually funded significantly by the federal government, and they have not moved ahead. And the agreement that we made with Amtrak is not just a piece of paper. It is functionally over the last this last year has taken incredible resources that we've put in to make a lot of the projects we have that have been long stalled really moving ahead. Certainly, was very proud when Governor Murphy, when we did that announcement, had the signing ceremony in New York. And I think, Tony touched on Portal, the importance of that. That submission is in, again, a record cooperation. But, in Gateway, certainly. But I think on a lot of things with the commuter analogy that Tony touched on, what does it mean to them? There are a lot of things like here, for example, what we're doing together, putting the elevated walkway that'll be across going there. That'll allow then for Chris and Devco to be able to have the bridge going across the connect there, making it safer, more convenient, and modern transportation system that helps induce ridership. Transit-oriented development isn't just about residents, it's also about workers, getting workers to and from, and certainly the hospital as well. So that's a significant improvement there. I think if you look at what that means, also we have touched on the ADA accessibility, putting new elevators, escalators, renovating the whole building here. That's a very significant project. All those things require Amtrak's cooperation, and we were not able to move these projects forward, even though they were funded, because we could not work and invest together in the corridor. I think another one, things that we take for granted, positive train control, which has been, caught a lot of attention. It's more behind the scenes now. That takes incredible interoperability between us. We have a train, say, that comes up our trains here where they come out. They're operating on Amtrak's track, but we also have trains, say, Raritan Valley Line. Starts on our track, goes on to Conrail track, then comes into Amtrak's track. To Tony's point, our customers really don't care. They want to make sure that they have a safe ride, but the positive train control, that interoperability, takes a lot of cooperation, a lot of work by all our staffs. So that's very, very much appreciated. Obviously, just further up the track, Elizabeth Station, some of you may have noticed, we are now under construction there. That was a long-stalled station project, $72 million project. That's now under construction. Again, that wouldn't have happened without the cooperation from Amtrak. We're doing work, more minor work at Trenton, Rahway, a number of other stations along the way that we have planned. That all requires cooperation from Amtrak as the owner of the railway. The other projects that we'll be looking at is County Yard just further down. The Delco lead, that was, you may recall, when we had the flooding of Hurricane Sandy. That's a long stall project. It's funded with resiliency money from the feds, from Sandy money, and that has been languished. We've now come to agreement with Amtrak, and we'll be moving forward with that, which allows us to have a functional yard where you can put equipment during major storms or events and can get it right back out after the storms pass. And then, obviously, it's in a high, safe area. Again, that all comes as an extension of really good cooperation and working with Amtrak collaboratively to invest in the Northeast Corridor for the benefit of all our riders, rather than fighting and not investing and seeing what happens. We all know what happens when that happens. The other side is to see what we can do when we actually put together all our resources and really improve the Northeast Corridor for both our riders and Amtrak, and of course for the benefit of the economy of New Brunswick and the state. So, Governor, I think that that's not too bad for a day.
Amen. Thanks, Kevin. Thank you. A couple of things. Our very good friend Joe Egan is not going to be able to join us today, but I want to give him a shout out in absentia, both as an assemblyman. He's up for election in 3 weeks, so we got to give him some slack in that respect. And secondly, as a great voice on behalf of organized labor. Secondly, Jim Cahill was mentioned. I want to give Jim a shout out. He's obviously well represented here today by council, but Jim has been mayor of this community for a long, long time and is one of the very, very best. And Kevin and Tony, correct me if I'm wrong here, and Chris, the good news, the other piece of good news here is plus or minus on all these projects, the federal government is picking up about 90% of the tab. Meaning that's a pretty darn good ratio any day, any project you're involved with. About 90% of these are going to be picked up on the federal side, 10% I think largely, Kevin, funded through the Transportation Trust Fund on the New Jersey side. That's a ratio that would take all day long. So for so many reasons, these projects, some of which will take multiple years. This is not going to be done overnight here in New Brunswick. It'll be a multi-year project. My guess is Elizabeth is a couple of years. The others are probably, Princeton Junction, by example, is probably within the year. So folks have patience. We will get there. We won't get there overnight, but we'll get there. And folks can see that there's a journey that we're on. We know where we're headed. It's a good place that we're headed. And we're doing it as a team. And that's the best way to get there, and fastest way and strongest way. With that, we'll take a couple of questions. Daniel. So the budget that we've signed up back-to-back historic investments in two budgets in a row into NJ Transit. Not only is it more money, but we've also, I'm proud to say, have begun, if not entirely in NJ Transit's case, to rid ourselves of the diversions on which it used to live, because the state in the prior administration wasn't funding NJ Transit appropriately. And you all may remember at one point that state support was cut by 90%. So we're all in on funding NJ Transit. These are the two biggest back-to-back investments on the state's behalf in the history of NJ Transit, two all-time highs. We have the right management. We're finally making up for lost ground on both meeting federal safety standards. Only appropriate that you get drowned out by a train at a train station. That sounds like one of yours, Tony. And we're finally making up for a lack of engineers, which has been killing us on the rail side. I'm proud to say Kevin and I will be at a graduation ceremony tomorrow. But it's, those all take time. But there's no question about our commitment and the funding to support NJ Transit. Others, please. Yep. Listen, I ask as I do every day, how do we do this morning? Yesterday was a lousy day. I suspect it was related to the fact that it was a holiday for many folks, and a lot of folks had kids who were off from school. And as I mentioned yesterday, it's human nature. You get crushed on days like that. And we get crushed in particular, as you've heard me say many times, on Mondays and Fridays in the summer. So this morning, and Kevin will correct me if I'm wrong, we put out about 250 or so trains, and six of them didn't make the cut. So we batted 244. I'm approximating the denominator, but I think I'm right? We batted 244 out of 250. So if you're one of the 244, you had a reasonable experience this morning. If you're one of the 6, you don't care that we did 244, and I don't blame you. So they want us to bat 1,000. I promise you, I want us to bat 1,000, and I won't be happy until we do bat 1,000. But the data and the metrics, without question, slowly but surely are going in the right direction. No, today was personnel as well as mechanical issues. Yesterday was overwhelmingly engineers. I mentioned yesterday, I believe there were 12 out, 10 were engineers yesterday, 2 equipment. Today, I think it was a split of 4 and 2. Brett. Brett, can I borrow your sunglasses after you ask this question? Yes, they are cool.
We did a story today on teen suicide rate increasing in New Jersey and amid a national mental health crisis. How concerning is that for you? How important is the state need to do?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the story. I normally read all your stuff, so I will get to it. It is a national reality, not just a New Jersey reality. And the notion of promoting mental health into a similar notion and category as any other physical health challenge is something that we've stood for since day one. whether it's in our Department of Health, Department of Human Services, wherever else it might touch folks. It's not teenagers, but the Attorney General hosted a resiliency summit at the end of last week for law enforcement officers, where we have huge mental health stress, which sadly sometimes, thank God, not more than it does, but it sometimes translates into suicide or suicidal tendencies. So the answer is New Jersey is not isolated. We, along with the rest of America, is in that mental health struggle. And the faster and stronger that we can get mental health to be thought of in every respect, both among us as citizens and residents, but also as seen through the eyes as an example of insurance companies. The faster that mental health can be seen in the same realm as physical health, the better and stronger we'll be. Anyone else from the press? Press? Thank you. So I'll answer the second. This is the location for the Innovation and Technology Hub, and that is coming together quite nicely. So there is a very good use, I think, measured at every level, including I don't want to speak on behalf of the community, but I think something that the community will also embrace. On the first one, I actually don't know. So I'm going to ask Chris.
I mean, it's just really simple. The Cancer Institute needs to be directly connected to the existing hospital facility by a bridge, and we can't cross the train tracks. So we need to be able to move patients back and forth.
So with that, I want to thank Chairman Kosha. Tony, thank you so much. Chris, for all of your leadership. Kevin, for everything you do every day. Again, to our electeds, the advocates, transit, environmental, brothers and sisters from organized labor, citizens of this great community, thank you all for coming out.